This is the Friday Night Fever Afterburn, sponsored by Peden Heating and Air Conditioning.
Welcome to Friday Night Fever Afterburn, week 9 of the regular season. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and we had some ball games tonight.
Yeah.
A very fun one up in Chipley, but we're going to go ahead and get right into all of the scores. Go ahead and tell us about that first.
Well, yeah, you just kind of hinted at a little bit up in Chipley. Bozeman on the road. They win that one with a walk-off kick, 25-24. They're still perfect.
Yeah.
And then another crazy one over in Walton County tonight. It's the Braves. They're also trying to protect an undefeated record. They win that one in double overtime, 43-42. Then a little bit of a blowout in the Eastern time zone. Holmes County wins that one 41-0. Score going into the second half, and it just remains at that one. And then here at Tommy Oliver Stadium, Fort Walton Beach on the road visiting the Tornadoes. 35-0 is the final.
Up in Graceville, Graceville putting up some points tonight, but
Yeah.
North Bay Haven rolling there. It's going to be 45-26, the final score. Cottondale just cruising past Patala Charter Academy, PCA Patala. Been working on that
Yeah,
one.
we have.
Working on that pronunciation. Cottondale, Cameron Odom, Jock Garrett, they go crazy tonight. Mariana cruising up in Troy, Alabama, 43-14, the final there. And then St. Joe, a running clock, pretty much the entirety of the ball game. All second half, they went 40-0 over Franklin County.
A couple more matchups. Bluntstown, they were on the road tonight. A big win for the Tigers, 18-7 over Northview. Weewaw at home this week. 2-game win streak for Weewaw. Three now.
2, 3.
Three now.
For Weewaw.
26-20 over FAMU DRS. Vernon also at home tonight. They pick up the win 43-30 over Jefferson County. And then not such a hot showing over Beachside. Lincoln picks up a 63-0 win over Arnold.
Right, and in this game last night, this on Thursday night, Freeport by 1 point over Baker. I know they were trailing by a touchdown, with just a couple minutes ago. They come back and win that one, so a big win for Freeport. As they're trying to maybe hang on to those playoff hopes, maybe, but definitely a big win for Coach Arntz and the crew. Well, we got a lot to talk about tonight. If you're in here and you got a team that you're excited to hear about, excited, to see those highlights, or just excited that they won, go ahead and let us hear it down in the comments, because we have a lot to talk about, a lot to break down tonight. We do have a special guest that will be coming in just a little while. Won't tell you quite yet who that is, but you'll probably be able to guess when we skip on to the next game. But we're going to start off in Defuniak Springs. Walton now 8-0 this year. And, it looks like there's a good chance that they could finish this season for 10-0. This one going to double overtime. The Braves with a very talented Gadsden County, and it was back and forth. Walton scores first. Gadsden County scores. Walton retakes the lead. Gadsden County retakes the lead, and then they play from behind the whole rest of the game until they tie it up at 28 to send it to overtime. Some very talented players on both teams. Clearly, you can just look and see that Gadsden County's got some athletes over there. This is the same, crew that upset Mosley, that very talented Mosley team 2 years ago in the playoffs. And this was the one that Coach White was telling me this week. He said, hey, we said we got to get through this, stand. We got to get through the Mariana. We got to get through the Pensacola Catholic. We got to get through the West Florida, and we got to get through Gadsden County. If we get through that stretch undefeated, all right, I'll talk. I'll say, all right, this is a legit team with Final Four expectations. But we got to get through that stretch. They got through it tonight in double overtime. They just find ways to win. What do you think about this one?
Well, exactly. Just tagging off after that. It's something I'm almost nervous to say, but this team really performs under pressure. I mean, they've gone into overtime multiple times this season, walked off with field goals. Now tonight going for 2 against Gadsden County. And at that point, Gadsden County had already scored. So Walton's, pushing the envelope a little bit, going for the 2-point conversion. Either they get it and they win, or they don't get it and they lose. And I mean, it obviously paid off winning 43-42. It's just impressive to see what this team can put out on the field and just what they're capable of, especially in these high tension moments. It kind of makes you excited to watch this team, but for the postseason, knowing that, that's when each team's really going to bring it. Everything's on the line for that, and they can perform under pressure. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing to take away from this game, and then the couple other ones that have gone down to 1 point, 3 points. I mean, however it's been.
Right, and I think this is about the fourth time this season that I've been watching, score stream and going, ooh, I think this might be the game that Walton loses. This might be the one that they get their first loss. And I'm like, okay, they tie it up. Okay, overtime. And then I'm like, why do I even worry? Because this is their third or fourth overtime victory
I think it's
this
their
season.
third.
Their third double overtime victory this season. So they just figure it out. 3 times double OT wins.
3 times.
That is correct.
Wow.
And we got some support down in the comments for Walton. I see Nuke McKenzie always showing out. That is correct. Coach Nichols, a former Brave, now showing his support for those guys over there. You got to. Nuke, he's an incredible kid, but definitely a massive, massive win for Walton tonight. And they do have Mariana, or no, they do not have Mariana. They have Pensacola, and they have. Who is their last game?
I'm trying to think who it is.
They have 2 very winnable games to close out the regular season. So now we're looking at more than likely a 10-0 Walton going into the playoffs. Don't want to jinx it. We're going to go ahead and knock. Northview, which is a solid, Class 1A team. They're a juggernaut last year, not the same team this year, but we're looking at a
fell to Bozeman tonight. Bluntstown tonight.
10-0. That's right. We did see some Bluntstown support, but possibly a 10-0, a 1 seed, type scenario for Walton. We don't want to jinx anything yet. We'll get there, but this was the one that's like, can they get to the 1 seed? This game showed, they'll more likely be the 1 seed. And we did see earlier this week some Wells Bettenhausen, some recruiting from the Louisville Cardinals.
Yeah.
So that kid, I say kid, he's a junior in high school. Same with Duke. We call it the kids. They look older than me anyway. But Wells Bettenhausen, he's been getting some D1 kind of looks lately, and I mean, you see why.
Yeah.
But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next scores. Check in on some of those comments. Got a big win for the BHS Tigers. That is Bluntstown. We just talked about that, getting a big win over Northview. Still a lot of talent over there. They were the state runners-up last year. Clearly not the same, just go out and beat everybody in Class 1A, 1R type team, but a very good team and a good road win. That's now 4 in a row for Bluntstown. So they're kind of sneaking their way back up after a slow start. I see Bucks win. That is right. The Bozeman Bucks 25-24. We also got We Are Walton. That is right. You should be proud to be Walton because that is a football team over there. They got some guys that can play. And did Sneeds play tonight? No, they did not. We had Sneeds, South Walton, Mosley, Rutherford. All off tonight. They'll all be back in action next week. Got to give Bozeman credit. 2 tough wins on the road the last 2 weeks. And that's what I was saying last week. And we will get into this more in a second. I promise you, Bozeman fans, hang on. We got you. I promise we will talk a lot about Bozeman. But going on the road to St. Joe and on the road to Chipley, that is the true, can they be a Final Four team?
Well,
I say yes.
And I mean, especially a team like Port St. Joe, that will put a beating on you. And that was what I was a little worried about. Already a tough Chipley team that you're going to their territory to play them. And you're also just kind of battle tested last week, probably beaten up. But, Peyton Gay went down for a little bit last week too. You would have never known. You would have thought maybe they were on a bye last week. I mean, they really pushed the envelope, looked good this week. So, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit more.
We are stalling a little bit for
You missed
our
a comment
guest.
too.
I did miss a comment.
Braves ranking. Didn't you answer that?
Right. What is the Walton Braves ranking in the state? That would be number 2 in Class 2 Suburban. They're behind Cocoa, which is the defending state champs. They are incredible, and they're, I think, top 5 team in the state through all classifications. And Walton is also 12th in
Cocoa
all
is 2
classifications.
overall.
Right. Cocoa is 2 right now, and that's behind Chaminade Madonna.
Madonna, yeah.
Chaminade Madonna. Say that 3 times fast. Patala Charter Academy. I have one school that I can pronounce tonight. Don't push it. We're going to move on to Holmes County right now. Holmes County and Liberty County, and that's going to kind of preview that Bozeman matchup for next week. But Holmes County, those guys getting it done tonight. They cruise past Liberty County. They got a bunch of athletes: Jamison, Bacon, Landon Lumpkin. Those dudes,
Tucker
they go
Faircloth.
crazy. And they put on a show tonight. They went up 41-0 into the half. They cruised into the second half. What did you see from just this absolute dominant performance by Holmes County once again?
Gosh, I mean, just getting score updates. It's not that I didn't expect this from Holmes County, but just, last week it kind of caught me off guard with the close, back and forth, a little bit of a tie game with Freeport last week. Well, they wanted to silence any of that this week. I mean, they just went to Liberty County, put on a stomping. The crazy part about it was 41-0 heading into halftime, and that was the final score. So what happened in the second half, we don't know. But I guess not a lot of action if it was still 41-0. But, I mean, they just look good. We talked about it on air about Landon Lumpkin. I mean, he looks super comfortable, dual threat quarterback. He can run it, he can throw it. I mean, that's what you want from your guys. They all work so hard. They won it. I know Colby Powell also looked pretty good tonight, stepping in for Lumpkin. He does that a couple times throughout the games, but I know it was a little bit more tonight after they put up by a couple scores.
Right, that offense is deadly. I see a comment going to the Cowpen next week versus the Wing T Wombles. That's from Coach Millette.
Yeah.
Bethlehem, they certainly, when we see the Cowpen going after the rodeo a couple weeks, from this point on in the rest of the season, it is a slightly prettier dirt field, but they take pride in that dirt field over there, the Cowpen, that is. And it should be a fun one. I see keeping it fertilized. Rodeo stops for no one, not even the pigskin.
I love that.
Well, this is going to take us to what we've been stalling for this whole time. That is going to be our Bozeman and Chipley game. We got a special guest in the house tonight. That is going to be head coach Jason Griffin of the Bozeman Bucks. A big win tonight. I see you, Coach, finally back at the school, coming down the road tonight. Just tell us how you're feeling right now.
Yeah.
I mean, historic, you're undefeated. You just beat Chipley for the first time since 2019. They haven't lost on that field since October 2021. Just tell us a little bit about the emotions you're feeling right now.
Well, I'm not known for smiling when it relates to football, but I'm having a little trouble stopping, and not smiling. So I'll tell you what, our guys right there, they showed some fight, some resiliency, going in there on their homecoming, packed house, tough crowd. Our guys, some things didn't go our way. Our guys fought and fought and fought. We talked about a little Jason Isbell quote. Our guys are going to ride the ship down, dumping buckets overboard, man. There's no quitting them. They're going to keep fighting. And I'll tell you, man, you got Chance Jenkins and Peyton Gay, a little bit of time on the clock. You got a chance.
Right, and for anybody, we haven't gone through these highlights just yet on the show. We broke them down on Friday Night Fever, but, we had the first half highlights, and it appears that all the highlights happened in the second half, all the fun. Just break down that second half for us, and the multiple lead changes. Break down that second half for us.
Well, we kind of offense, we sputtered a little bit in the first quarter. We missed some opportunities and didn't do some things. We kind of got it rolling the second quarter just before halftime. Went in to tie it up and at a blocked extra point. That hurt us. And then, of course, the second half, we come out, we punch it in. We kind of really did a great job in the second half, making some adjustments, sticking the ball up, running the ball inside tough with Chance. And Trevor Oswald really came through late in the fourth quarter. And then Peyton really played so much better. And in the second half, he really played like an elite quarterback. And, we really got some things. And then our defense was just outstanding all night. Again, we got in a situation where we scored a couple of touchdowns. I had them both called back with holding calls. So I ended up having to kick a field goal there and getting blocked. They scoop and score for a touchdown. I mean, our defense really played phenomenal football, to not give up points to a very dynamic offense. So again, it wasn't our best game, wasn't our cleanest game, but our guys were able to do enough and pull it out in a very hostile environment with some things that didn't go our way at all.
Right. And again, a walk-off field goal by Chance Jenkins, and when you go into that final drive, when you go into those final couple minutes, you guys missed the 2-point conversion that would have tied the game. You've got to be sitting there and thinking, man, that extra point at the beginning of the game, is that going to be the difference? Is that going to be the difference? Kind of explain that in the sense of like, man, there's so many opportunities. Is this really going to slip through our fingers? What was going through your mind when you thought, man, are we really going to let this one slip?
Well, I was pretty hostile, to be honest with you, because we scored a big touchdown there and ended up getting an excessive celebration on sportsmanlike. I already had the play for the 2-point conversion called, and then we turn out, they back us up 15 yards, so we ended up having to call another play. We didn't get it. So, very frustrating, turn of events there where you think you got a chance to go ahead and tie the score up. And then next thing you know, you're looking at a huge distance to try to convert the 2 points. So that was frustrating with that penalty there. But again, our defense did a great job at a couple timeouts. We got a stop, called timeout, and then we got the ball back with about a minute and a half and no timeouts left. But again, that's where Peyton shines. Chance did some great things. We had some big plays from a lot of different guys in that situation. Our offensive line really, really fought hard there at the end. So I'll tell you, couldn't be more proud of our guys to deal with the adversity that we dealt with and still be able to come out on top.
Right, and I think we got the video of that walk-off field goal. It's not a very long one. It's just a quick little snippet, but you can kind of see, Chance hitting it, the sideline erupting. Chance, he does it all. I mean, he's been that guy this year that's just your linchpin. The guy that, he's going to do it on offense. He's going to do it on defense, clearly doing it on special teams as well. What do you got to say for him coming in this year and just being that guy, being that go-to weapon for Peyton, and just really just doing it all and clearly saving the day tonight?
I'll tell you, I couldn't be more proud of the kid, man. Happy for him, to be honest with you. I'm just happy for him. He brings such a great attitude. He's such a dynamic leader, such a great kid, such a great, even better person. He's just a great kid. And for him to have some struggles early in his career, to be able to come here and be not only have success, but be a big part of why we're having success. I mean, I'm just so happy for him because he deserves it. He's really worked hard, and I'm glad to see him do that. And again, all our kids, everywhere from Oswald to Reyna, to Gibbons to Colt McClellan, who made the big catch for the touchdown there. I mean, all of our guys, our offensive linemen with Asher Burris really fighting hard, and all of our guys with Trevin Sweat, those guys up front, man, that are really are undersized and really outmatched, just fight so hard. Trent Albright, those guys, man, I'm just so happy for all of them because they're great kids. They really work hard, and they really have. Someone has mentioned to me, last night something about deserving to win, and I said, well, you can't really say deserve. They got to go out and earn it. But these guys, I'll tell you, they deserve everything they get.
Right, and Coach, you kind of got to go from. For years it's the underrated, or the count them out Bozeman. They're the underdogs. They're the underdogs. All season, and now it's like, okay, they're dominating some opponents, but can they beat good teams? And it's like, okay, now they're beating good teams. They've beat St. Joe and Shipley on the road in back-to-back weeks. Now you're kind of transitioning into, okay, you got a target on your back. You guys were top 5 in the state this week, higher than anybody in our realm. Probably going to move up a little bit more this week, you would have to think. How is it going to be kind of transitioning you and your team and your mindset to like, okay, we're the hunters to the hunted?
Well, I know, we knew the magnitude of this game tonight. My kids understood the gravity of it, what it meant for us in our season and where we wanted to go and what it meant long-term as far as postseason implications. So to have this one behind us and have it go our way, it really kind of takes the pressure off. We know what Holmes County is. They're an outstanding football team. We know what they are, but at the same time, there's not, we're not going to feel any pressure where we've got to go in there, and it's not do or die. It's not going to make or break us. So I think we can clean up some things that we need to clean up. And I think next week, we ought to go in there loose and play some exciting football in another environment where we've got to go in on the road to a place that's not easy to win. It's going to be another packed house. So, I think right now our kids ought to see that it ought to be fun. We ought to have some fun moving forward, and kind of position ourselves for what's ahead, but again, you say being the hunter, all that. I just want to know if Kaleigh is a believer now.
Kaleigh, you're on the spotlight.
I have enjoyed these last 2 weeks. It's been so fun to see this team. I mean, we've talked about it. You've heard it through the first couple weeks. I think first 6 weeks, everyone was saying easy schedule, easy schedule, easy schedule. I mean, now we see Bozeman. They go on the road at Port St. Joe. Well, they had Destin before that, and everyone's like, oh, it's Destin, Port St. Joe. Now it's kind of like, oh, it's Port St. Joe. Now it's Chipley. Well, now it's Chipley. So, I mean, it's just exciting to see. It was fun to see in the first half. It really go back and forth, and then just the way, hearing about what happened in the second half, how they just battled it all the way to the end. Chance coming in, kicking that field goal, walking it off, winning by 1 point in Chipley territory. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, let's go to Holmes County next week.
I'm a believer.
I kind of feel the same way, and let's go to Holmes County. Right now it ought to be just an outstanding football game between two really, really fantastic teams. And Holmes is having a great year. Kevin's doing a great job up there. I mean, we're going to have our work cut out for us. There's no doubt about it. But at the same time, we ought to go in there loose, relaxed, and ready to have some fun playing football. And it ought to be as good a high school football matchup as we've had around here in a while.
All right, well, Coach, before I let you go, I do want to mention once again, we've talked about it this year. 8-3 has been the best season in Bozeman history. You guys are 8-0. That matches it. You guys have a chance to not only break that, but go a whole lot further this year. I was around the Bozeman program in 2012, as a middle schooler, watching those guys, those great players over there. And now this team is, now they were chasing the ghost. And now, they're going to be the chase for the rest of their life. Do you have anything else before you? I know it's unfinished business, but to kind of just relish in that, that 8-0 start, how you feeling?
Sure. We remember that team with Martinez and Chandler and those guys and how good of a football team and how talented they were. But, I'll tell you, anytime you do something in a place that hasn't been done before and you match the best that it's ever been, that sort of thing, man, it's a great feeling. It really, I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't. But at the same time, we're not looking too much farther down the road. I mean, we it's like I told the guys, I want them to enjoy it, and I'll just be the miserable guy that's already worried about next week. So, we got a tough football game next week, and we got to really improve for Rutherford team coming after that. So we're trying not to look too far down the road and try to focus on getting better. Again, we didn't play our best football tonight. We need to get better next week. So that's what we're going to focus on. But I do love the possibility, Sam. I understand what you're saying, and it's all out there before us. But again, we got to take care of business weekend. We've got what to happen.
I think we need to also ask how the bus ride home was. How exciting was that 30-minute trip home?
Well, you'd think it'd be a little bit more rowdy, but I think our guys played. They gave it. I told the challenge at halftime. I said, let's don't take anything home with us. Just leave everything out on the field and see how it goes. And I'll tell you, the spirits were up, but there's some pretty tired, banged up guys on that bus tonight. So including their head coach. So it was a pleasant ride, but at the same time, it was pretty subdued because we're all pretty worn out, but everybody's feeling pretty good over here, both.
Coach, before we let you go, any final comments before we send you off to enjoy the rest of your Friday?
No, guys. I appreciate you having us on, and again, we're gonna get back to keep doing what we're doing, and hope things are gonna go our way. And continue to see what we can do with this Bozeman football group.
Yes, sir, Coach. Well, we appreciate your time. Congratulations once again, big win over Chipley. I know you got a lot of happy fans up there in the Sand Hills, and congratulations once again. And we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Thanks. Y'all have a great night.
That is Coach Jason Griffin of the Bozeman Bucks. They are 8-0, first time in school history. 8 wins. That matches their best record in school history.
Yeah.
Before we get going, I know we've had a lot of comments down here since Coach Griffin has been on. We're gonna roll on through. I got Bucks beating Chipley and the refs. Great job, Bucks. We got a lot of support. Game was intense. Way to go, Bozeman. We got a lot of Bozeman fans down here. I got a question. What is Bay High's record? I believe tonight they fell to 3-5 or 4-5. 4-5, 3-5. We're about to check that out for you, but we'll get it back to you. We got some more Bucks fans in here. Something about the kid's name, Chance. Congratulations. So I see, of course, Chance Gaynor from Port St. Joe. He's been having a phenomenal season. And Chance Jenkins of Bozeman. Those are two of the better players in the Panhandle all year. They had a clash last week, but a big respect from both of the Chances. Sandhill is going to be popping tonight. Lots of Bozeman support.
Yeah.
We do got a couple of more games before, we get into next week's matchups and everything. We got a few to break down. North Bay Haven going on the road, getting another win tonight. A lot of offense from North Bay Haven.
Yeah.
What did you see from this matchup?
Well, and just that, I love to see this offense shine, coming in with a new scheme, something they've been kind of working through this season. Obviously, we've seen them hit some roadblocks, hit some struggles, but they have so much talent on this team. We talk about it every week. We have Willie Hawley, Lakota Johnson, Landon Summers, Jaden Spurlock, Quante. I mean, it's just endless with this team. So it's nice to see them bounce back from last week, losing to Rutherford, going on the road, taking a long road trip up to Graceville. Obviously, Graceville's a team that's kind of trying to find its footing with a new head coach as well this season. But, just kind of giving them time to shine, showing their talent, showing what they have. And I mean, this is impressive from Graceville too, we haven't seen them at all this season. So this is the first time we're seeing them on a football field on Friday night. So it's good to see that they have some momentum. We didn't get to see any of it in the first half. Stinks, it all kind of happened in the second half. But, it's impressive to see Graceville able to put some points on the board as well.
Right, and there's both teams that you kind of see. All right, we got a fresh start from Graceville, looking to get some things going up there with Coach Collier, and North Bay Haven clearly a bright future with that program and Coach Canals. But also hate to be the doom and gloom guy, but we are going to start talking about those playoffs, and I do think that these two are both mathematically out of the scheme. So at this point, it's just going to be working to get that record and looking to improve before next season. But we're going to check in with Cottondale, who's now won 4 in a row, Cottondale. So, they putting up some points against some teams that, we don't see too often around here. But Jock Garrett, Cameron Odom, those two are fantastic.
Yeah, they are.
This game, they had combined for over 2,500 yards and 25 scores, just the two of them, before this game. And then after tonight, putting up all those points, I'm going to have to check back in a couple of days because, the Jock Garrett, Cameron Odom duo, both averaging well over 100 rushing yards per game, and, they just keep it going. That offense, I know a lot of coaches, when they say, hey, I'm trying to create a new offense, I'm trying to, mix some things up, I'm trying to, make things interesting, I'm going to do it like the Coach Obert offense. And it clearly just shows that, they know how to put up some points. And I think they had a slow start, and now they're certainly in that playoff picture. What did you see from Cottondale tonight?
Well, I just love their offense. I mean, there's so many talented players. And, something about Cottondale, their reputation for the last couple of years has been a young team. And that's still true. I mean, there's still a lot of young players. We got an 8th grader, Tremont Collins, that we're really looking at. I know he's been a big weapon for them. We don't see him tonight. I saw him the first game of the season against Sneed's, kind of break through one of the coaches. I think it was Coach Davis on the sideline screaming, "That's an 8th grader." So it's awesome to see the talent, rising talent too, that they have. I mean, they have these players for multiple years to come. So it's just exciting to see what they can do on offense. I mean, I'm going back to that Sneed's game because that's the last time I saw them in person. But in that first half, it was back and forth. So I really got to see the offense shine. And so it was nice to see highlights like this, just them really come through. And we've been talking about Jock and Cam all week, all season, basically. I mean, we love to watch those two. We're excited for those two. And so it's fun to see these highlights just kind of shine through on the performance those two are having this season.
What's even scarier for every other team in the area, they're both juniors.
Yeah.
So they'll be
They're young.
back
This
next
is a young
year.
team.
They were both sophomores last year. They look okay, made the playoffs, look okay, bright future. This year, starting to find a rhythm. They still got a lot of football to play, but their schedule, very winnable. Straight through. I could see them, cruising on through, moving up into, just based on record. I know the FHSA is big on the strength of schedule, so I don't know that probably won't favor them strength of schedule wise, but they'll certainly be right in the playoff mix. I would say Cottondale, you don't want to say lock yet, but they're certainly right there in the picture and more than likely going to be in the postseason once again.
Their next 2 games are Vernon and Graceville. Vernon at home, Graceville away.
Now, I do retract because Vernon and Cottondale, that will be an interesting one.
Yeah.
The orange and blue versus the orange and blue.
The Hornets, the Yellow Jackets.
Right, and Vernon picking up a big win tonight. They had to have this one against Jefferson County to keep those playoff hopes alive. That's 4 wins now for Vernon? I think 3 or 4, but certainly keeping them
3 on this season and 2 in a row.
Okay, that's right. 3 on the season, 2 in a row.
4 now. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, okay. 4.
Well, they are right there in the playoff mix.
3 on the season,
is that 4
and
4 or 4 and 5?
They are 4 and 4.
4 and 4. So right there at 500. Last year winning 1 game. This year they have won 4 games. They're right there in the playoff mix.
Yeah.
That Cottondale-Vernon matchup really could decide, how things shake out. I think Vernon gets a win over Cottondale. It puts them, almost, again, not a lock, but puts them in a very good position to make the playoffs. So that's going to be an important one for both Cottondale and Vernon next week. And if we don't have a Bozeman Holmes County, it's certainly in consideration for play of the week.
That would be a good one.
But we'll certainly be there next week. That is for sure. Mariana up in Pike Liberal Arts. They dominate on the road up in Troy, Alabama. Port St. Joe again rolling. Freeport, we'll get to Freeport in a second. I'm 1 page ahead. Bluntstown, a big win tonight over Northview. Those Tigers now rolling to 4 in a row. That's going to make things interesting at the end of the year because I know we got Bluntstown and Chipley on that final game of the regular season. That will be a fun one. That is for sure. Weewa, now 3 in a row for the Gators. They're also right there in the playoff mix. You know, when we're talking about this, I can point at every single of our 21 teams and go, playoffs, not playoffs, playoffs, not playoffs. We were right there in the mix. Vernon, right there in the mix. Arnold, not in the mix. And Freeport, probably not in the mix after starting 1-6. But a lot of close games this year that haven't gone their way. We got a lot of fun ones next week.
Yeah.
Starting off with a district championship game. Right now, Mosley is 2-1. And Niceville is 3-0 in the district. So next week, it'll be a winner-takes-all type atmosphere in Tommy Oliver on Thursday night.
It was insane last year.
It's always fun. This one's going to be a Tommy Oliver, so, you know, not going to have the band on the field, type Niceville, but I'm sure it'll be very rowdy. I don't want to scare any Dolphin fans, but Niceville put up 60, 70 points on Leon tonight, the team that beat Mosley. And I will say Mosley should not have lost that game. They know they shouldn't have lost that game. It's clearly their first loss of the season. Or first, you know, loss that they said, we should have had that one. But this is a district championship game. It's in Tommy Oliver, home crowd. I know Mosley, Sammy Freitas, those guys are going to be excited for that. We will be there. We will surely have those highlights on Friday night as well if you don't watch on Thursday.
And, I mean, their record looks good. I've heard from some people that have seen Niceville in person. I don't think the record reflects that, but they've said not as good as they have been hyped up to be. So we'll see that
I've
next week.
seen their schedule, and from what I've seen, they look phenomenal.
That's just what I've heard. Don't fear the messenger.
But that's just, what do I know? I just
work here
and talked about high school football for the last 3 years, like a little dweeb. But anyway, South Walton and North Bay Haven, that would be, if North Bay Haven beat Rutherford, a district title game, but they didn't. So South Walton has already clinched that district. South Walton is already in the playoffs. At this point, they're just working on seeding, which certainly will help. But I also don't think that South Walton mathematically can host a playoff game, but they are in. So at this point, they are working on that seeding. Graceville at Freeport, again, 2 teams not going to be in the playoffs. I think if Freeport wins out, they still can't get in. Graceville's not going to get in. Again, that Vernon-Cottondale matchup, a huge playoff implication matchup. I know Coach Tillman, Coach Brown, those guys are very hyped in Vernon. Of course, Coach Ober as well. Port St. Joe and Sneeds, that'll be a fun one.
Yeah.
For sure.
That'll be an interesting one. Obviously, we've seen a lot from Port St. Joe this season. We saw stuff from Sneeds and then kind of took a decline. Didn't see too much. Last week, they got the big win at home, off this week. So I think that'll be a big test to see who Sneeds is this season. And a Port St. Joe opponent is not going to be an easy one.
Right, and these are both teams that last year were the 1 seed and the 2 seed in District 2. Both had a bye in the first round of the playoffs. And now both are, you know, in the mix, but by no means a lock, you know, especially Sneeds. They got a win last week, but they lost, 4 in a row that Sneeds lost? So they're certainly not a lock to make the playoffs if, you know, they lose the next 2. But this one, playoff implications in Sneeds this upcoming week.
Yeah.
That will be interesting. And then, of course, the game at Coach Griffin, the game that everybody's talking about, Wing T in the pig pen. You know, it's going to be a fun one up at Memorial Field. Bozeman comes to the Blue Devils. It's what we've talked about. You know, we hate, I want to say hate. We don't like following, you know, the same team, game of the week, game of the week, game of the week. But when they keep winning, it's like game day. It follows you. Success follows. We follow the success.
Who doesn't want to see that matchup?
Right.
I want to.
1 loss, Holmes County. They lost to Mariana the first game of the season. They've now rattled off 7 in a row. We got 8-0 Bozeman. I mean, the headline's just right.
I mean, and you saw what Holmes County did tonight, 41-0. Bozeman, their game, insane tonight. I mean, so just both those teams with their performances just this week, too, really garnered that.
Right. And, of course, we got Taylor County and Chipley. Chipley's going to be looking to bounce back. I think they should be able to get that win on their home field. Blountstown, Liberty County, the Apalachicola River rivalry. Congratulations to the Liberty County Bulldogs volleyball team winning a thrilling 5-set district title last night. I think we will see those two play for a region title pretty soon as well. But congratulations to Coach Sewell and Liberty County. We got Walton and Pensacola Again, knock on wood, but Walton should clean the table with
Yeah.
Pensacola.
This is their last time on the road. Then they'll be back at home for the final.
Right. I don't think that one is much in question. I don't want to, the whole team could go down with the flu or the plague, and it could go.
Never
sideways,
mind.
but
Does not.
Walton's gonna win that game. Mariana versus Florida High. That is a very tough one, and Mariana needs these games. They started off huge. They started off big, and now they're at a point where it's like, all right, we're kind of seeing playoff contention almost slip from our grasp. Right now, they are in the playoffs, but Florida High is one of the best teams in the state. They just flat out are, and Mariana will have their hands full next week in Tallahassee. Bay versus Rutherford. It doesn't matter if there's playoff implications on the line. More than likely, there is not. But it's Bay versus Rutherford.
We'll have to see which one's at Tommy Oliver next week because we have South Walton at North Bay Haven and Bay and Rutherford.
Right. I would think that it would be Bay and Rutherford at Tommy Oliver, and North Bay Haven will probably be at Gavlac.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Bay versus Rutherford, it's always a fun one. Coach Floyd certainly looking to keep his momentum rolling. His team now winning 2 in a row. Bay with a tough loss tonight, and they look dejected. But Rutherford, Bay, that would be a fun one. Jay versus Weewa, that's another winnable game for Weewa that's trying to keep those.
In that tough region.
Right, and trying to keep the playoff hopes alive, but I think Weewa's got another winnable game. We'll have to probably try and stop by that one. And then Arnold versus Rickards, they are just in that brutal district with all those Tallahassee teams. Arnold not in playoff contention, nor is Franklin County. That will have the week off. But before we go, we do have some more comments down there. I got Colin Miller. He had that big Randy Moss catch last week against Port St. Joe for the Bucks. I'm sure he had another great game tonight. Bluntstown quietly stringing together solid wins. That is correct. Bluntstown, the team that probably had more hype than anybody at the beginning of the year, and then kind of calmed down for a bit. And now they've won 4 in a row. I'm sure they'll be right there.
Liberty
in
County
contention
next week, and then that Chipley game the last week of the season. So those will be exciting ones for Bluntstown.
I see some love for Amarian Hover. I just pulled up his stats: 21 rushes, 171 yards. And the score for Amarian Hover. He has been fantastic.
That's a D1 kid.
He will be on a D1 football team next year, I'm sure. Brad and them fighting Tigers for coming back. We've been talking for about 3 hours now, so we're going to let you guys get to bed because we also need to get to bed. But again, thanks for Coach Griffin for coming on tonight. Bozeman 8-0, Walton 8-0. We got some more football to play. 2 weeks left of the regular season. And then me and Spencer were talking about this earlier, probably 2 weeks of playoffs on Fever, but we will be here as long as we got teams in the playoffs. So we'll be here just as long as we can. But that is going to do it for us tonight. If you want to watch the highlights of all those games, we'll have them over on mypanhandle.com shortly. Make sure to share those so everybody can see your team winning this week. But that is going to do us for week 9. We will see you next week on week 10.